It's 2 months since mass transportation strikes hit France as workers protested over changes to the French pension scheme. Hey Race, what's happening on the latest protest day? French unions have called for another national day of protest against the government's pension reform plan on Thursday, the day the plans come before the French Parliament. But, 2 months into the social movement, the level of disruption was expected to be low compared to what the country saw in the early days of the social movement. Transport is running almost as normal across the country, even in Paris, which was the area hardest hit by the union's action in December. A protest march is planned for Paris in the afternoon, and some metro stations along the route of the march will close by order of the police. The march is set to depart at the Gare de l'Est station at 1:30 p.m. and move west to end at Nation. The number of people taking to the streets on protest days has been dwindling since the beginning of the movement. On January 29, 108,000 people took to the streets nationally, according to the French Interior Ministry. In comparison, the number was 615,000 on December 17. The CGT union's estimates were higher. It said 180,000 people turned up in Paris alone on January 29 and 1.8 million nationally on December 17. There are several reasons for the decline in people taking to the streets. Firstly, the financial strain on the workers taking part in the movement has been palpable. French public sector workers forfeit their salaries during strikes. Rail employees who joined the mass strike in December received empty pay slips in January. Secondly, some of the unions have dropped out of the movement. 4 of the big workers' unions, CGT, Force Ouvrière, FSU, Solidaires, and were still taking part in the protests, but the more moderate CFDT and UNSA unions ceased their mobilization against the reform in January. This came following the government's tentative backpedaling on one of the main points in the reform, the so-called pivot age that would respectively penalize or reward those retiring before and after the age of 64. Discussions are ongoing between the government and the unions are ongoing on the issue of a pension pivot age that will give fuller pensions to those who work later than the legal retirement age of 62. Transport has been running largely as normal for several weeks now, but workers in Paris waste depots have been staging blockades that have seen uncollected garbage piling up on the streets in some areas of the city.